How much is your EB2 NIW or EB1A green card petition going to cost you? Hi, my name is Oscar and I'm a scientist, not a lawyer. In this channel, we talk about green cards like EB2 NIW or EB1A in which you can self-petition. You can take the future into your own hands. You don't have to depend on a company sponsoring you, and you can do it without lawyers, saving a lot of money. And yes, money is the topic of today's video, because even though I have an older video that covers the costs for EB2 NIW, today we are going to update that content because in April 2024, USCIS updated pretty much all fees. So even though I cover a new fee that is called the Asylum Program Fee in a separate video, I wanted to create this summary again so everyone can go into this process with a clear idea of what is going to take financially. Again, there's a new fee, Asylum Program Fee. Even though it has the asylum word in the name, it applies to all of you applying for this EB2 NIW or EB1A. You will have to pay for it. I will tell you how much that is going to cost you, but I'm going to tell you how much everything is going to cost you. Not only government fees, not only USCIS or Department of State fees, but things like lawyers and even office supplies and medical exams. We're going to cover pretty much everything. So let's start. And here is a breakdown of the main costs. In the first step, the I-140 step, we have the government fees, and that includes the new asylum program fee, which is mandatory, I say it again, and the optional premium processing fee, as well as of course, the mandatory I-140 fee. In the second part of the process, we have to distinguish if you are in the US, then you will do the I-485 adjustment of status, and you will have some mandatory fees and some optional fees. If you are abroad, the second part of the process will be the consular processing, and you will have a consular fee. Then everyone will have a medical examination. You may choose to have an immigration lawyer, and that has a huge cost, and we'll cover that, or you may choose to go without one. And finally, there's a bunch of other costs that I also want to summarize for you to be aware of. So let's start with the first part of the process, the I-140 government fees. All government fees, not only for the I-140, are regulated and not refundable. This is very important. If you start the process and they accept your package, USCIS will not give you the money back if they deny your case or they issue an RFE. So you should be mentally ready to dedicate that money to this purpose. You will not get the money back no matter what is the outcome of your process. The I-140 fee is $715. It's up $15 since April 1st, 2024. But that is not everything you have to pay in this first part of the process, because like I was saying earlier, there's a new fee you have to pay, and that is the Asylum Program Fee. It's mandatory for everyone, and for EB2 NIW and EB1A is $300. Then you have the optional premium processing I-907 fee, and that is, since this year, $2,805. It used to be $2,500, now it's $2,805. Like I said, this is optional. And this will help you speed up your process, but just the first part, this I-140 step. It does not speed up the second part of the process. What this does is they will take a decision on your case in 45 days for EB2 NIW or 15 days for EB1A. But I repeat, it will not shorten the second part of the process, only the I-140 part. And in fact, for EB2 NIW, my personal position is that right now, based on the visa bulletin, it is not really worth it to pay for this fee. And I have a video that you can watch where I give my full opinion. It may be interesting for EB1A. So the totals for this step range between $1,015 to $3,820 if you pay premium processing. Remember that these fees are only paid by you, the principal applicant. It covers all the family members, all the derivatives. And this is a key difference between the I-140 step and adjustment of status or consular processing, where things are not that advantageous. We'll cover that in a second. You should pay each fee separately. That is the safest bet. That means one payment for I-140, one payment for Asylum Program Fee, and another one for premium processing if you choose to do that. Now, there's an exception. If you pay by credit card, you can combine the I-140 and the Asylum Program Fee. But in general, as a rule of thumb, it is better to always keep things separately so you don't have problems with USCIS. And to pay, you can choose 3 different methods. One, the one that I prefer, is using money orders. I prefer that because it's safest, it's the lower risk method. You can also use personal checks if you have a US account, or US credit cards using form G1450. In the course, I talk in detail about how to pay, why to use money orders, how to use credit cards if you are abroad. I go in detail about all those topics. So that's another reason to join our course, to join us and learn about this EB2 NIW or EB1A green card process. Let's get into the second part of the process. If you are in the US, that is the adjustment of status or I-485. Quick note here, biometric fees no longer exist after the changes implemented in April 2024. That's probably the only good news that we had in April, okay? So if you heard about these biometric fees, now you can forget about those, okay? These are the fees you have to focus on. We have the I-485 adjustment of status fee, which is currently $1,440 per adult, per member of the family adult, and $950 for children under 14 years old. Then we have 2 optional fees. The I-765 is $260 per person, and that gives you a temporary EAD card. Before your green card gets to you, before your green card is issued, you can start working on your green card status with this temporary card. Then we have the I-131 fee, which is $630 per person, and that is, again, optional for a temporary travel document. If you need to travel abroad while you're waiting for your green card, while you're waiting for your adjustment of status being completed, you can file for this benefit, get this card, and be sure you can travel outside and come back to the US to complete your process of green card in the United States. So the totals for this step are between $1,440 if we only take the adjustment of status for one adult, to $2,330 if we take all the optionals that you can add. And remember, these are per adult. This is a huge difference with the I-140 step. In the I-140 step, only the principal pays. In the adjustment of status step, each member of the family will have to create their own package, send their own package, and pay their own fees. If you have children, they will pay a little bit less, but nevertheless, it will be 1 fee per person, and that will add up pretty fast. Again, pay each of these fees separately. If you choose to do the optional ones, pay them separately always, and you can use money order, preferred, check, or credit card with form G1450. If you are abroad, then you will not do an adjustment of status. You will do consular processing in an embassy or consulate abroad. And these fees have not increased yet as of summer 2024 when I'm recording the video. And this is because the consular process is governed by a different agency. It's not governed by USCIS, it's governed by the Department of State. So that's why we still don't have this bad news about increasing costs. So there are 2 main fees here. One is the Department of State consular processing fee, which is currently $345 per person, again, per person, and the USCIS immigrant fee, which is $220 per person, and this covers the cost of producing the actual green card that you will get. So the total for this step is $565. Again, these fees are paid per person, not like the I-140 step. This is similar to adjustment of status. Each member of the family pays their own fees, and the method of payment, use the one that is indicated by the Department of State for the first fee and USCIS for the immigrant fee. And you can see that consular processing is actually cheaper than adjustment of status, and that is only because, like I said, they are governed by different agencies. And right now, consular processing is cheaper, but that can change if, let's say, this year or next year, the State Department decides to increase the fees as well. All right? So let's continue with medical exam costs, because this is something that everyone will do. No matter if you are in the US doing an adjustment of status or you are abroad consular processing, you will have to file Form I-693, Report of Immigration, Medical Examination, and Vaccination Record. And that is, again, for both adjustment of status and consular processing and for each member of the family. It can only be performed by USCIS approved doctors. You will have to go to a doctor designated by USCIS, and they will do this medical examination. No government fee here, but you must pay the medical office. And the cost will vary quite a bit depending on where you are and which doctor you choose. The typical cost ranges between $300 and $500. And then we have various costs that will slowly add up as well. If you have a foreign degree, you will need to do a credential evaluation report. If you are in our course, you will get a discount with a reputable agency, Carnegie, and you will have access to their services for a reduced price. You also have to consider shipping costs. You will have to put together your packages and you will have to mail it to USCIS. You will have to pay for office materials like paper, binders, and all of those things. Translations, and this is optional, and in fact in my course I show you how to do it for free, so that's another reason to join the course. And you may decide to have a professional or business plan, and that is an optional cost because you can do it yourself or you can pay an agency to do it for you. And again, in our course we have a discount with a reputable company that can create a professional or business plan for you. So for all these things you should consider something between $50 and $500 without considering a plan, because a plan is quite expensive. It will go beyond $1,000 for sure. So I'm not adding that up in there. So you probably noticed that I've been talking about my course a lot. So let's talk about my websites, eb1greencard.info for EB1A and eb2NIW.info for EB2 NIW. By the way, that website is also in Spanish if you go to eb2NIW-espanol.info, or in Portuguese if you go to eb2NIW.pt for Portuguese. And I'm excited because that's a new addition. We will start populating that website. We will start creating more and more resources for our Brazilian and in general Portuguese speaker friends. You can find a lot of resources in those websites, but above all, what I like to propose to you is that you take a look at our EB2 NIW or EB1A Green Card courses. Here on screen you have the NIW course curriculum. We cover everything, I-140 step, adjustment of status, consular processing, and it's not for researchers, it's for everyone. We teach you a process, we teach you a method, how to take the future into your own hands, how to craft your petition cover letter, your recommendation letters, your professional or business plan. You can submit questions in each lesson, and for EB2 NIW, once a month we meet in a live session. So what are you waiting for? Join us in the course. Let's go back to costs to talk about lawyers. A lot of people, if not everyone, consider hiring a lawyer at some point of the process. This is an optional cost. It is not mandatory to have a lawyer preparing your case. Their fees vary a lot. I have been in this field for quite a bit of time, and I can tell you I have seen it all in terms of lawyer fees. But the services that they include also vary a lot, and the quality as well. As a minimum, you should expect to pay $5,000 for a lawyer, but it can get as high as $20,000, okay? The important question you should ask yourself, other than do I need a lawyer, is what do they include if you are comparing lawyers? Because some of them will offer more services than others. Services that can include are preparation of petition cover letters. This for me is a must, it should be expected. Preparation of recommendation letters, some of them include that, some of them don't. Profile evaluation, help defining what activities you should engage on if you need to build your profile further. Or things like answering your questions quickly throughout the process, because believe me, I dealt with lawyers and mine were terrible at this, and this is something very important. Do they provide support for adjustment of status or consular processing, or only for the I-140 stage? This is another important question. And would they support an RFE response if worst comes to worst? because many of them don't. So remember that even if you hire lawyers, you will need to work a lot in your NIW. Hiring lawyers is not like putting money there and forgetting about this EB2 NIW issue. You will have to provide them with a lot of information. You will have to give them your really comprehensive curriculum vitae. You will have to describe carefully and in non-technical terms the projects that you have undertaken and their impact, because they will need to argue for you. So they need to understand who you are professionally, what have you done, what are your accomplishments. If you are in EB2 NIW, you will likely have to craft your proposed endeavor. What is your professional mission in the United States? And also remember that you will have to give them all the evidence and all the documents about your achievements so they can have that proof when they are crafting your petition. Let's go with a summary of the costs, and I have two tables here. This first one is for people that are inside the United States, people that will do an adjustment of status. So first of all, we have the first step, the I-140 step. Let me say that in gray, I have the optional costs, and in black, I have the costs that everyone will have to pay, okay? So we'll have the I-140 fee, which includes the $715 plus the $300 for the new Asylum Program Fee. Then we have the optional premium processing, which is more than $2,800. And then for the second part of the process, we have as mandatory the I-485 adjustment of status fee, and then we have the optional temporary cards that you may or may not choose to apply for. But everyone will have to pay a medical exam. Then we have the other charges, and finally lawyers. And I have broken it down for people that will have no lawyers or people that will hire lawyers. Okay, so the total per person, and this is important, this is for one person, ranges between $2,805 to $3,455 for those of you that don't hire a lawyer and without optional costs, because otherwise it can go as high as $7,000. And then for people choosing to hire a lawyer, they will pay between $7,800 to $18,455 without optional costs. With optional costs, it can go as high as $22K. So you can see that there are a lot of ranges here, but it was important for me to provide all the optionality so you can calculate exactly where you stand. And remember, if you have a family, you have to add also their second part of the process, the charges for adjustment of status for them as well. Okay, so remember to multiply this part for your family members if you are not just one person. So let's move to consular processing. The summary is here. We have, again, the I-140 fees, exactly the same than for the previous screen, optional premium processing. And then second part of the process is different, is cheaper. We have the consular processing fee, the immigrant fee, and then we have the medical exam. We have others, we have lawyers or no lawyers, depending on where you stand with that. And so the total without optional costs ranges between about $2,000 to $2,600 for people that are not adding any optional costs. In this case, the only optional cost is premium processing. Otherwise, it would go higher than $5,000. And for people that choose to hire lawyers, it will range between $7,000 to $17,580 if they choose to not have premium processing. If they go with premium processing, they will be about as high as $20K. Okay, so you can see, again, a lot of variation depending on what you choose. And of course, we could add other optional charges like business or professional plan, or my online course if you choose to join us. And it's going to be a tiny portion of the fees of the costs, because you see that compared to lawyers, our course is extremely cheap. So, conclusions. New USCIS fees implemented on April 1st, 2024. We had a lot of bad news back in April. So in this video, I try to summarize everything. Costs have increased, especially for adjustment of status, and we have a new fee for Asylum Program Fee. And there's always the question about lawyers. Should we have lawyers or not? This is a personal decision. You should take it based on your personal situation. I never say categorically that one must go without lawyers or with. I advocate for do-it-yourself solutions, but I understand that some people may want to have a lawyer, and you should think about it because it will add a lot of expense. It will be over $10,000 of additional expense in many cases, okay? Depending on which lawyer you choose. Do you want to have a specific video where we talk about costs of popular lawyers? Because we can do that. I do have the numbers for a lot of them, so we can have a session here where we cover that particular topic if you are interested. So what do you think about all these costs? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. Are you already in the process? Were you surprised by the cost? Do you think they are not that expensive because the opportunity of working in the US is higher than the cost that you need to pay? Let me know what you think. And as usual, thank you for being here, for sharing this channel, for liking my videos. And I will see you next week with more content. Thank you.